So, welcome to AlbumFace, welcome to the channel. Today I'm joined with the amazing Lavz, and I'm going to introduce her properly in a moment. But for those of you who've never been on the AlbumFace page or on the AlbumFace channel, AlbumFace is creative Christian conversation. And literally that just means we discuss things that are creative from a Christian perspective. So, today, I'm speaking to Lavz. This is part of the mute sessions that I'm doing. And the idea behind mute sessions is just the concept of, I guess, being quiet, turning things off, and maybe turning some things on. And that's what I'm going to be discussing with Lavz today. So you'll get to understand a little bit more about what that's about. So Lavz, thank you for being here with me. I'm really excited to talk to you. And would you like to tell us a little bit about who you are and what it is you do?
Yes. So first of all, thank you for having me on your platform. It's a great platform to make continue to do good things. I am a musician, first of all, so I make hip hop music. I'm a rapper. I am a producer as well. And recently just stepping into some presenting and more speaking and just kind of sharing with others and teaching. That's another thing I've kind of started doing. So workshops in songwriting, which I was going to start doing in schools before COVID, but for now it's online and it's on Zoom. I had my first session last week and it went really well. So that's every 2 weeks that will just be happening. So yeah, that's what I do at the moment. Just wear a lot of hats and creative.
That's it, literally creative. I love it. And actually, I'll put all where people can find out about the stuff that you're doing in the description as well, and we'll point to your social at the end as well, so people make sure you follow Lavz and what she's doing. And I just want to point out that obviously you're a female as well. I just need to put that in there. Obviously doing all these things, amazing creative things, and just showing what it's about. Obviously, one of the main things when I sort of got in touch with Lavz and just said, I want to sort of have these conversations, we've all been aware of what is, well, unless there's no way you can't be aware of what is going on in society at the moment in terms of racial injustice and the tragic death of George Floyd and sort of the ripple effects that's had in the Black community and the community as a whole. And being a Christian, I think as well, even being women, which is not necessarily something I particularly pointed on, but I guess the way that we might process that would look different, definitely. And just how being Christian, how that's impacted us, but also how it's impacted our creative processes. It may feel separate, but every creative I've spoken to who's a Christian, it's definitely impacted sort of the things that they do. And I guess my first question to you, Lavz, would be, what is it that you have been intentional about in this season? Actually, no, I'm gonna step back. Hearing what happened, navigating that as a Christian and as a creative, I guess what was sort of some of the first steps or some of the first thoughts that you had?
Wow. Well, the first thing it's mad. The first thing I thought was I need to just step back and process everything before I start reacting online. So first of all, I never watch any sort of video where I just see things happening to Black bodies, whether it's police doing something crazy or someone's getting shot. I don't watch the video, I can never watch it. I know I'm very sensitive to those things. So you just step back and look, and my thing is, how can this even be happening? I know it's how can this be happening in the middle of a pandemic still? Obviously, this is still a thing. It didn't pause before COVID happened. It was still happening. And there's many times and many stories and people we've never even heard of that are just going through it every day that don't make a headline.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was like, how is this even happening over something so trivial? But then it's like, I'm not surprised. So it's disappointed and not surprised, to be honest. Yeah.
And when you say you're not surprised, what is it that I guess makes you not surprised in that instance?
Just from the many list of people that have already lost their lives because somebody thought they were threats, even though they weren't doing anything, or they've just seen the Blackness and it does something to them that makes them uncomfortable and feel like they need to react in a certain way towards somebody. So that's where the non-surprising element of of it comes from, just all the people that's already happened to, and it's just like, here we go again. But I'm not desensitized, so it wasn't like, okay, fine. It hurt a lot more, because right now everyone is standing still. Even if you're working from home, we're not doing normal things that we would be doing, going out to work or going to church, even going to social events and gatherings, me performing at gigs. Like, it's a strange time for everyone, no matter what sector of work you're in. So yeah, it was a lot, to be honest.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing on that. And I guess, so you've already kind of gone to my next question a little bit, because what I was going to ask you is, what were you intentional about muting in terms of like what you turned off and sort of to protect sort of your own space? And you said about not watching certain things because you know your capacity, and maybe if that's things that have happened, like you said, things that have happened to Black bodies, you were very intentional about not watching things like that. Did you think it was easy to not access that? How were you intentional?
Yeah, that wasn't easy to do, because it's everywhere, or it's even sometimes in a conversation. Sometimes the conversation itself was a lot for me. It's like, I can't talk about this today, maybe another day. Or just, yeah, not going on social media, because things like Twitter, everyone has a think piece and opinion, and if you're not strong in your own or have enough kind of strength to even deal with that, or even see it, even though you agree or disagree, just to look at it, you're taking something in. And
True.
That for me, it was no. So I wasn't online for certain bits. I just pick and choose where I use social media, how much of it I'm using, because this kind of topic is very dear to me. So it's not new information. Like, I do read a lot of Black literature and people who used to work for Black people's rights and fight for us, kind of thing, but not let that override my identity as a Christian. Like, that was the thing I was kind of struggling with. It's like, how can I do both? How can I not just sit here and be passive, but how can I not go too far on the other end of the spectrum, and then make something I'm passionate about be turned into something that it doesn't need to be turned into? Sure.
And so when you say something it doesn't need to turn into, is that like an emotional thing, or maybe what you post in? What would that potentially have looked like?
Yeah, I think a bit of both. So emotionally, just seeing even people within our community that just say maybe some things I don't necessarily agree with, or
when you say our community, do you mean Christian? Do you mean Black community? What do you mean?
Good point. Yeah, Black community and Christians, to be honest. And then obviously people that are non-Black, just being wary of what they are saying and how I kind of navigated their point of view, because it is valid, but it's like, this is our experience, like Black people's experience, no matter what you believe in, to be honest. So yeah, I think I lost my train of thought, but yeah, that is around what I was thinking.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so you said you've turned some things off. You even mentioned that actually in certain conversations you said that you were not ready to have these conversations. So I guess you were intentional about safeguarding your space. Is that something you're still doing now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Even in quarantine, so even before George, I was kind of doing that, because hearing a lot of, okay, the death toll's going up for corona, or these X amount of people are losing their jobs, or X amount of people are in a fragile state. So just before that, but this even more so, I was like, because this is very close, it had to be done.
Yeah. And actually, I mean, I know this is a conversation sort of we've had offline as well, but in terms of one of the things that I think you're kind of really emphasizing there is about protecting your own sort of mental space and health. And that sometimes, not always, but can be missing from some of the Christian dialogue. What do you think in terms of now, with all that's been going on, do you think that still remains the same? Do you think that there's been a change in terms of Christians discussing mental health and specifically maybe in this season?
I think more so in this season have I seen more Christians specifically talking about mental health. I feel like with that area, it's either really over spiritualizing people, like just pray on it, guys, and it will go away, it will get better. It's like, yes, that's one aspect of it, but then the other aspect of what am I practically doing to protect my space? What am I practically doing to not think destructively? How am I seeing life through a more healthier lens? I think it needs both. So I say from this season, have I really seen it? And I pray it continues. I will definitely be one of the people continuing to speak on that experience, and it's needed. It's needed. I don't understand why it hasn't been up until this point. It may be the point that I've referenced before, just over spiritualizing it. Even one of my friends that is Muslim, she said it's exactly the same thing. They over spiritualize it and not bring in the practical kind of aspect of it. Like, God gives people the knowledge to kind of, do you know what I mean, see how you can improve. It's obviously, this is where your faith comes in of, am I going to accept that report of what I'm being told, or am I going to try and work through it, work with my faith? God's got this. Like, that's not God's will for me. God's will for me is to have an abundant life. He's not coming to steal, kill, destroy. He said he has plans of hope and a future of peace and well-being. So that's what the word says. So
yeah. and if I'm right, is it, you're basically, what you're saying is matching our faith with our works, because it says faith without works is dead. So basically that's what it's marrying the two. Yeah, as you've said, this seems a little bit more poignant. We're seeing more sort of steps in that way, and I guess maybe more open sort of conversations. But yeah, like you said, I agree. I hope that it continues in that respect. So, you know, creative Christian conversation is what AlbumFace is, but we can't get into creativity without laying the canvas for sort of what has been going on and sort of where you're feeling. And this is why I'm speaking to different creatives, because it's now you're having an experience that you still have to work. You know, you still have to create your music, you still have to, you know, you were fortunate enough to be able to do something live this weekend, you know, and you can tell us a bit about that as well. But it's, how do you now move forward, and in with this canvas behind you, that isn't necessarily going to disappear? What is the next steps for Lavz?
Next steps is to just apply what I've learned from this experience and just appreciate and keep on adapting and having open conversations, taking care of myself, because I'm one of those people that if my mind's not in the right place, I can't do anything. Like, I can't function, especially as a creative. We need our mind for a lot of things. Like, it might not be in a logical sense, we're just doing it with pictures, words, lyrics, whatever your medium is. So yeah, I need to continue to take care of that. That's one thing that has allowed me to flourish during this time, because yes, I can get the opportunities, but if I'm not there to meet the opportunity, then it's nothing. Do you know what I mean? So we need to just make sure that we're keeping ourselves in the right spaces. And that's not to say we should pretend reality is not happening.
Sure.
No, it's just not sinking too low into what is going on. And yeah, just remaining adaptable. We don't know, like, I don't know how soon they're going to be opening stages again. It might be a streaming thing with just a few artists, as I did yesterday for a while, because that's the safest thing to do. We have to just wait and see, but at the same time put things in place so that by the time things are reopened, you have a plan, you have something to show for the time that you've been in and how you're coming out stronger, I think.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I think that last line, how you're coming out stronger. And actually, sort of like a step back to go forward, people, when the sort of pandemic first started, there was kind of like, you know, use this time, make your goals, all this goal setting. And I think that last point there, coming out stronger, how did you feel about kind of this goal setting mindset that was kind of being projected, particularly on social media at the beginning of the pandemic, and then how does that connect with coming out stronger? Maybe your response to the first, and then how you connect that to coming out stronger.
Yeah, so in response to the first part, I did not like that conversation. Like, it was just like, guys, take a break. Like, do you not see what's happening? We need to make sure we are good. Like, is your mum okay? Have you checked on your grandma during this time? Have you checked on your friends? Is everyone okay? Okay. Are you okay? What's going on with you? This is a very strange time that you have never experienced before in your life, and God willing, never again will experience in your life. So, to that question, it's a balance. It goes back to my point of, I know for myself, I need to be in the right place to create. So again, it's that self-care, then everything else flows from that. Yeah, so I think it's a balance. Some people, self-care is more important than their goal setting at this time. Because a lot of people, I've known a lot of people who they've just lost family members during this time. You can't tell them, oh, set your goals, guys, get your vision board down. It's like, that's very insensitive to say at this moment. But at the same time, if you're there, yes, set your goals, but you can do it quietly. Or don't ask creatives, what's the creative responsibility? Is like, we've always had a responsibility to create art that speaks to people, and everyone has a responsibility in whatever they're doing. So nothing really changed. It's just adapting to the environment and situation that we're in right now. So yeah, I don't know if that answered it.
No, it did. It definitely did. It definitely did. Oh, I love it. You said some really powerful things in there. And I want to ask you, I guess, so you've emphasized what you were intentional about cutting, and I know some people feel like self-care is kind of a buzzword, but or buzzwords, however you want to look at it, but it is important to take care of yourself, and I think that that's something that I've been trying personally to focus on and encourage sort of those who are around me who tend to look outwardly first. And I love how you sort of illustrated that. Now you've checked on everyone, how are you doing, in terms of you sort of the things that you cut and or sort of put boundaries around or muted for the sake of the name of the sessions. Those are the things that you kind of said, nah, these things need to, mute on that, which I think is very important in terms of linking it back to self-care. Yeah. What is it that you were intentional about unmuting? What did you say, right, this is what I want to engage with right now? Or, like you mentioned books. I don't know if there's anything particular in this season that you said, right, I'm going to read or I'm going to watch, or, whether do you know what I mean? Like, is there a particular type of content that you engaged with?
Yeah. Just really positive and hopeful content, I would say, I've been engaging in. Like, my mum has quite a few books lying at home. So I think the one I've just started reading is called literally The Power of Positive Thinking. I know it sounds corny, as some people say, or just like one of those books, but literally the scripture that I've just been having throughout this whole thing, like before COVID got a lot more serious, was Romans 12:2, when it's like, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Like, a lot of the things you see, like, everything starts from your mind. Your thoughts become your emotions. So then you question, okay, I feel like this, where is this coming from? Just really sitting with myself and unpacking things that I want to improve on, and unpacking things that I'm already kind of strong at, and how I can just keep developing. So yeah, positive, uplifting content. Doing a lot of devotionals as well. What else have I been doing? Yeah, that's really for the most part. And then some books like Akala Natives, just rereading bits of, okay, this is the reality of what is happening, and staying educated in that, and tuning into some people's like things like this, conversations like this, just around the Black experience. And again, it's kind of rooted in self-care, like we need to protect space and things like that. That's really what I'm muting in this time.
Thank you. And I feel like there's really been a sort of a link with everything you said, because even that scripture in terms of being transformed by the renewing of your mind is about mindsets and just protecting sort of that space and being really intentional about that. And I thank you for that and for sharing with us, because I mean, you know me, so you know that like I'm just really big on, you know, mind and just being intentional about it and not being afraid of your own vulnerability as well, or denying it in some sense. So thank you for all that you've shared. And I mean, I have so many other questions, but I'm so mindful of time. And I guess maybe the question I'd ask, because obviously what took place was in America, and I guess as a musician here in the UK, even Akala, the book you mentioned, he's a British musician. And what is it that maybe you think looks different in terms of, you talked about creative responsibility, British creatives, I don't want to say versus American creatives, but I guess what would you say as the conversations start unfolding over here, what do you think the sort of, the responsibility looks like for British creatives as they start to maybe try and tackle these things? Because not everyone will want to, and I think that also is something maybe that needs to be respected, or you can even respond to that on that as well too.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point, especially on the point of not feeling pressure to kind of speak on something or questioning why somebody might not be. Because I saw a post by Ashley Waters, so Top Boy and stuff like that, for people who don't know. And he kind of just broke down in tears essentially and was just like, I'm tired of people asking me why I haven't been posting it. Like, he shared his experience of racism within the industry, and it's like, I've been fighting for this all my life. So for someone to come and say, oh, you're moving a certain type of way because you haven't posted, or you don't care about this issue because you haven't posted, it's like, you don't know that person's story. Why should I, a grown person, need to log onto my social media and explain myself? I don't need to do that. So that's something we need to be mindful of and understand as well. Not everyone has to speak on it, and some people, you can see through their content, maybe they're not about that, they just don't want to speak on it, which is fair enough. For those who choose to, I definitely say continue to say and speak up about your experiences and raise their awareness, because it's all good everyone turning their logo black for Black Lives Matter and everyone's doing Blackout Tuesday, but what does that do? Like, what does that really do? How does that really make the change that you want to see? Like, let's connect with the people that are maybe in the spaces that you don't really know how to navigate, whether it's the people who can sit in the meetings, people who work for the council. It needs to be people within those circles as well. So we just happen to be creative, so we speak up on it when we can. If that means you can write a song about it and, I don't know, donate to a Black-owned business or stuff like that. Like, we're doing little things here and there. I think it just needs to continue, and we just not run out of stamina, and we just keep encouraging each other to have the conversations, sign petitions, like whatever you can do and have the capacity to do it.
Thank you, Laveen. And I sorry, I know I said I was finishing, but I have another question now. So I think it's you touching on Black-owned business and sort of like just, and again bringing it back in terms of the Christian perspective. So this might be two questions, but I guess if someone hears something like, putting into Black-owned businesses, who's maybe not a Black person or is a Black person who doesn't necessarily understand why that's being done, because from a Christian perspective, is it not a form of discrimination? I guess that's my first question. Actually, let me let you respond to that first. What are your thoughts on in terms of that? And how does it look different as Christians as we support Black-owned businesses?
Okay. I wouldn't say it's discrimination only if you're putting it above something else because of something that can't be changed. A Black-owned business, there's nothing wrong with it. Like, it's the same as a business that's owned by a non-Black person, but we know systematically there are some things that are not in our favor. So supporting a Black owned business kind of, it expands the Black economy. So getting into those spaces and those conversations, I think that's where the conversation around supporting Black businesses comes into it. But Black owned businesses doesn't necessarily mean cheaper or you're my mate, so give me a discount. That's not what it means. It's still a business. So it should be encouraging when people are opening businesses, because it's like, that's something productive. That's something we want to see. Is that not, especially when it comes to stereotypes and stuff, this where racism even stems from. It's like, come on, like we too can be in spaces like that and be at the table, create our own table. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that, Black owned businesses in that sense. But at the same time, yeah, it doesn't mean I'm automatically just going to buy from someone because it's a Black owned business. It's like, that's not why you go into the shop. I don't go into McDonald's because the fries were made by a certain person. Do you know what I mean? It's quality as well. It's still quality over quantity and all of that stuff. Like all of those things where you're looking to invest into something, it's the same thing applied to your Black owned business. But we're saying support those as well, as so that when we're walking into corporate settings, I'm not getting looked at to the left because my hair is in a certain way, or do you know what I mean? It's the variety and it's being seen as human and not these otherworldly people that are just, I can't even find the words, but yeah, being taken seriously. And yeah, it should be encouraging. It should be encouraging, but it's not by force. So again, it's just being mindful about what you're buying into. And yeah, it's good to be supporting that. And then in answer to your second question, I think maybe I answered both in one, but
I think you I think you've answered them. If I sum it up and tell me if I don't want, because I don't want to put words in your mouth that you haven't said, okay? Yeah. So it's, in essence, what you're saying is that supporting Black businesses doesn't mean don't support others. It means support them so that they can also have an economic footing, which is missing in some of Western society because of systematic racism. Yeah. And then in terms of being Christian and kind of looking at that, you still, I guess it's still operating from a place of, like you said, quality, ethics, making sure that those people kind of line up in that sort of area as well. It's not disregarding those things because the person is Black, it's partnering the things together, but understanding sort of the system so that you're making an informed choice and understanding why people are pushing for the Black pound and these different things. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. I want to make sure that I'm not making up things, okay? So brilliant. Thank you so much, Laveen. And I guess maybe my last question, Christians, I guess maybe I haven't asked as many creative questions as I thought, but Christian creatives who are maybe not Black, who are wanting to advocate, or ally is a word that's being used a lot in at this time. Is there anything that you would say you found useful, and what would you say to point to for them if they were watching?
If they were watching, definitely just one, listen to your Black friends' experiences. Two, go into the works of read on people like Martin Luther King, read on people like Afua Hirsch. I'm trying to give as many UK kind of references, because that's another thing. Black history, especially in the UK, is like, where is it? We don't know. Like, was there a Black Panther Party in the UK? Was there a civil rights situation here? We don't really know. So definitely look into people who are speaking about it in a way that you can understand, and kind of challenge yourself and see maybe where some of your biases lie, but also know that your support is appreciated and it's what is needed. It's a conversation that should be happening. So it's something that you kind of need to want for yourself. It's nobody's it's nobody's job to kind of educate you on that. You need to kind of grab it for yourself and just go for it. But I've definitely not feel a way for trying to speak up about it, because there's some people like, you shouldn't be speaking about this, it's not your experience. It's like, we need everyone to understand what it is in order for there to be a stronger voice for this issue. And it's not just, oh, this person that I can't relate to. Okay, if Mandy from Scunthorpe sees some people from her area speaking about it, she'll get it. But because it's so, do you know what I mean? It's the familiarity is good for some people. So yeah, do your research, look at some works, look at some documentaries, whatever speaks to you the most. Just lean into that and carry on having the conversations and make the change where you can. Yeah, that's what I'd say.
Fantastic, thank you. And as we finish, now we are finishing, because I know I keep adding more questions in. As we finish, I guess my question is, what are you doing next as an artist? If you are, like, you might still be on sabbatical, and where can we find you?
Oh, so you can find me at Save Our Venues Festival coming up in August.
Nice.
I've got a new single coming out called Seeds of Wisdom, so that's August 19th. And you can find me everywhere at It's Lavz, so that's at ITSLAVZ everywhere.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Lavz. Yes, it's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you. And I'm excited about this conversation. I think just even as a sort of finish, there's so many different conversations going on at the moment. And the reason that I wanted to do this is just to, just people who are creative. We're not here as politicians or kind of trying to dissect every single factor. There's lots of people who are doing that, who have the expertise to do that as well. This is just creative people. We're having our processes. We're having to still do what we do as we navigate something that actually has had a large impact. And as all of us navigate COVID, as all of us navigate some of these societal changes. So I'm not saying that other people are not working, but there's a different impact. And I think you hit the nail on the head in terms of when you're creating, it's sort of coming out of yourself, and then you're still having to work with you when you're working through all these other things. So I really appreciate what you've said today, Lavz. Thank you for sharing with us. And as you said, at It's Lavz, and I'll put that beneath or on the screen or something. And also follow AlbumFace as well. What social media are you on before we go?
Yeah. So yeah, just It's Lavz, and then you could follow Minor to Major as well, actually.
Okay.
Should like that. But yeah.
Are you on Instagram?
Yes.
Instagram, Twitter.
Yeah, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I think that's about it, the main ones, yeah.
Okay, Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. You can follow It's Lavz, and same actually, Instagram, Twitter and Facebook at MyAlbumFace. All right. So thank you so much for tuning in, and there'll be more conversations, and I look forward to hearing from you all. All right. Thank you. Bye.